Ukraine's three previous post-Soviet presidents have given their support to anti-government protesters. Leonid Kravchuk, Leonid Kuchma and Viktor Yushchenko expressed solidarity with peaceful demonstrations. According to Mr. Yushchenko's party website, tens of thousands have surrounded government buildings in Kiev. The protesters are angry at the government's decision not to sign an association deal with the EU. European aspirations. We express solidarity with the peaceful civic actions of hundreds of thousands of young Ukrainians, the three former presidents said in a statement. They condemned the excessive use of force against peaceful demonstrators and called on all sides to refrain from further violence. They urged protest leaders and the government to engage in open dialogue, taking into account the European aspirations of the Ukrainian people. There is concern for 9 people beaten by police at the major demonstration in Kiev on 1 December. Relatives say 6 are in intensive care while 3 others are in prison medical units, and have been denied legal assistance. 35 people arrested as they attended the same protest have been detained for 2 months while they await trial. Friends of those held say they were ordinary citizens rather than activists or protest organizers. Thousands of demonstrators remain in Independence Square and outside the government buildings in Kiev. Pro-presidential supporters also held a counter-rally in the city of Donetsk. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned NATO against interfering in Ukraine. I hope that Ukrainian politicians will be able to resolve the situation peacefully, he said at a meeting with NATO foreign ministers in Brussels on Wednesday. NATO had earlier condemned the use of excessive force against pro-European protesters. Pressure from Russia. Mr. Lavrov's comments came after Ukraine's Prime Minister Mykola Azarov called on the opposition to stop escalating political tensions. He warned protesters that anybody found guilty of violating the constitution and laws would be punished. Mr. Azarov was speaking in a live broadcast from the first cabinet meeting since mass street protests began just over a week ago. The government survived a no-confidence vote in parliament on Tuesday. The protests are the largest since the pro-democracy Orange Revolution in 2004. They were sparked after President Viktor Yanukovych abruptly froze plans to sign the EU trade and reform deal last month, under pressure from Russia. Mr. Yanukovych has begun a 3-day official visit to China in what is reported to be a bid to forge closer economic ties. Another Ukrainian delegation is holding talks with Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev in Moscow, whose customs union Ukraine has agreed to join. Mr. Azarov said earlier this week he would be sending representatives to Brussels to renew talks on the EU deal. Both he and Mr. Yanukovych are facing calls for their resignation from the protesters. The 3 former presidents said demonstrators felt a deepening distrust towards the government. Mr. Kravchuk, 79, became Ukraine's first president after it gained independence from the USSR in 1991. He was succeeded by Mr. Kuchma, now 75, in 1994 and Mr. Yushchenko came to power in 2005.